to order the City of Wheat Ridge Planning Commission for February 20th, 2025. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Thank you. Appreciate your participation in tonight's meeting, and we hope to create a friendly, respectful atmosphere for public dialogue and appreciate your help in the process. Excuse me. Have a roll call of the members, please.
Daniel Gravy.
Present.
Krista Hollub.
Here.
Will Kearns.
Here.
Michael Moore.
Here.
Patrick Quinn.
Here.
Jonathan Shelkey.
Here.
Christine Disney and Sierra Maquiones are absent tonight.
Thank you. We've had the agenda in our packets. Approval of the agenda is the next order of business. If there are no changes to the order of a business are there any changes to the order of the agenda? Seeing none, the agenda will stand as published. Next order of business is to approve the minutes dated February 26, 25. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented? Seeing none, those will stand approved. Next order of business is our public forum. We're now open the general interest public forum. This is the time for anyone wishes to speak on a subject not appearing on the agenda. If you plan to speak on an item that is on tonight's agenda, please wait till we get to that order of business. Those of you who wish to comment on our Zoom connection, use the raise your hand button. If you are dialing in, press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute your phone. All speakers are asked to limit their remarks to 3 minutes. Speakers may not donate their time. Is anyone signed up to speak, madam?
No one in the public audience here, Vice Chair Quinn.
Thank you. Is anyone on Zoom?
There might be one person on Zoom. If you are wishing to speak at this time regarding anything other than what's on the agenda, please raise your hand. Nothing.
Seeing none. Is there anyone else in the public who would like to speak on the subject not appearing on tonight's agenda? Please speak up now. Seeing none, I will close the public forum. I will now open the general public hearing on tonight's subject. Tonight we have one public hearing. If you'd like to comment during a public hearing tonight, by choosing to testify, you are agreeing that the testimony you are giving will be the truth as you know it. I will now open the hearing for case number WZ 2502. Commissioner Kearns, will you please introduce the item?
Sure, thank you. This is a city-initiated rezoning of the Lutheran Legacy Campus. A city-initiated zone change of the Lutheran Legacy Campus from Planned Hospital Development, PHD, Planned Commercial Development, PCD, Residential 2, R2, and Residential 1, R1, to the Mixed-Use Lutheran Legacy Campus, MU-LLC Zone District.
Thank you, Commissioner Kearns. Do we have a staff report?
We do.
Will you please have it, sir?
All right, thank you. My name is Scott Cutler, planner with the City of Wheat Ridge Community Development Department. And I'm presenting this rezoning application, which is the city-initiated zone change of the Lutheran Legacy Campus to the newly adopted mixed-use Lutheran Legacy Campus, or MU-LLC Zone District. I'd like to enter into the public record the contents of the case file, the zoning ordinance, the comprehensive plan, and this digital presentation. Properties within the City of Wheat Ridge and all appropriate notification requirements have been met. Therefore, Planning Commission has jurisdiction to hear this case. The area subject to the rezoning is outlined in red, and the site is generally bounded by West 32nd Avenue, Dudley Street, West 38th Avenue, and Allison and Zephyr Courts. It includes parcels owned by the Sisters of Charity Leavenworth Health, SCL, which is the former hospital operator, Foothills Medical Building, LLP, and the City and County of Denver. The rezoning does not include any of the surrounding neighborhoods nor the church at the corner of 38th and Dudley. The site is primarily zoned currently planned hospital development, or PHD. There are also some small portions of other zone districts within the boundaries, including R1 and R2, and planned commercial development, or PCD, for one of the medical office buildings on the site. The PHD zoning only allows for hospitals, hospice care, and accessory uses customarily associated with medical campuses. Rezoning is necessary to ensure that any type of redevelopment can take place. The purpose of the zone change is to eliminate the restrictive hospital zoning designation and instead apply one zone district to the entire site that aligns with the vision in the master plan to allow a mix of land uses, allow a mix of housing types, and requiring open space and multimodal facilities. So I'm going to give a little bit of background on the timeline. I know Planning Commission has heard this before, but we actually started the planning efforts for the campus back in of 2021 when we learned that the hospital was going to be relocating to Clear Creek Crossing. And so after months of public engagement, City Council ultimately approved the Lutheran Legacy Campus Master Plan, which is the vision document for the campus. Fast forward a few years, May 2024, City Council passed a resolution in support of this legislative zone change for the campus to catalyze investment in the site. They didn't want the campus to sit vacant after the hospital moved, and now we know the hospital has relocated to Clear Creek Crossing. In 2024, we've had 3 public open houses, 7 study sessions at Planning Commission and City Council, and multiple letters were sent to surrounding property owners and residents. And people could also subscribe to What's Up Wheat Ridge to get emails, and I believe 400 or so people have subscribed to those updates, and those were last pushed out in January. In September of 2024, we had a neighborhood meeting for this legislative rezoning at the rec center, and it was well attended. And then November of last year, the voters approved pretty large margin the 2C charter amendment, which modified the allowed building heights in the campus, and I'll get into what that does in a second. January 2025, City Council then approved the new mixed-use Lutheran Legacy Campus, the MULOC regulations, which created the new zone district and all the regulations for the campus. I believe City Council or Planning Commission looked at this and recommended approval back in December. And then tonight, Planning Commission is making a recommendation on the rezoning, and ultimately City Council will make the final decision on April 14th, 2025. So what is a city-initiated zone change? I'm not sure if we have described this full process to Planning Commission yet, but basically it's the city, instead of a private applicant, taking the initiative and rezoning the property. There are some slightly different rules for when the city rezones properties versus a private developer, and I'll get into that in just a second, but the main difference is that it allows for public discussion during the process. It's not quasi-judicial, which means that residents have been able to provide direct feedback to City Council throughout the entire process, and they're not impartial because it's the city that's initiating the rezone change. It also will help the city achieve the vision of the master plan and align the zoning with that plan. We've done this a couple times before when the city rezoned 30th Avenue to mixed-use neighborhood in 2012 and Wadsworth to mixed-use commercial in 2011 because we had some vision documents that called for streamlined mixed-use zoning on those corridors. It also puts the creation of the zoning regulations in control of the city and not a developer. So if a developer approached the city, it would be a lot more negotiation, and the community may perceive something differently about the developer driving the conversation. In this case, there's no developer selected, and the city is working on the rezoning regulations instead. So you all reviewed and recommended approval on this, but just for the public's sake, an overview of the mixed-use LOC regulations, which were approved by City Council in January. And if the rezoning is approved, these regulations will guide any future development of the campus. If anyone is curious, the full 50 pages of regulations are available on Wheat Ridge Speaks for the January 27th City Council hearing. But it allows for a mix of housing types and building heights, with lower and less dense housing on the perimeter and taller buildings in the center. And that's what the charter amendment memorialized, is lowering the building heights on the edge while allowing for taller buildings than normal in the middle. There were substantial public open space requirements, requiring a mix of uses, residential, open space, and commercial, requiring a commitment to preserve and rehab the existing structures of historic significance, which includes the Blue House. And these regulations really align with the approved master plan and the vision for the campus. Regarding public notice, letters were sent to all owners and residents within 1,000 feet of the campus. Our code actually does not require this for city-initiated rezonings because the city is required to just notice the property owners that were rezoning. But because this has been such a big project, this is a voluntary notice that we sent to everyone within 1,000 feet of the campus. We also posted, I think, about 10 signs on the perimeter of the campus in the right-of-way. We sent emails, 389 people with project updates and future dates, and Ashley let me know that 80% of people opened that email, which is a pretty high rate, so a lot of people saw it. And we received no comments on Wheat Ridge Speaks or via phone and email for this hearing. So we review zone change requests based on several criteria and consistency with adopted plans and policies. And in this case, the master plan, the Lutheran Legacy Campus master plan, provides the guidance for this property for how future development will look and feel on the campus. The plan was informed by public input, which then informed the vision. So for example, the image at the top left shows the development framework map from the master plan, which concentrates denser development in the middle, shown in purple, and then lower density development at the edges, shown in yellow. And then the image from the bottom right is how the new MULOC regulations in the zoning code will translate the master plan guidance into actual regulations. So the image shows the first row of development, that dashed line, as the new charter approved low density overlay, which lowers allowed building heights on the edge to 2.5 stories or 30 feet, down from 35. The white areas are then limited to our normal lower density of 3 stories or 35 feet. And then the gray areas in the center of the campus, which were approved by the voters as part of the charter amendment to allow up to 5 stories. This image doesn't show the additional step back and setback requirements from the perimeter of the campus, which includes 38th Avenue. But the intent of all these regulations is to include residential transitions and buffers to ensure limited impacts on the adjacent existing residential neighborhoods. Ultimately, staff is recommending approval of the request for the following reasons. The proposed zone change will promote health, safety, and welfare of the community and does not result in an adverse effect on the surrounding area. Future developer will be required to upgrade the infrastructure and utilities to serve all the types of uses allowed by the change of zone. The proposed zone change is consistent with the goals and objectives of the adopted plans and policies, specifically the Legacy Campus Master Plan. The zone change will provide additional opportunity for reinvestment, and the criteria used to evaluate a zone change in the code supports the request. Additionally, this rezoning responds to the community approval in November of the charter amendment, which modifies the permitted building heights on the campus. And rezoning the property to MULOC will align the development standards to the approved building heights now codified in the charter. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cutler. I'll now entertain questions from the commission. I'll start on my right. Commissioner Kearns.
I don't have any questions, but I guess I will have a comment when we get to that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Grady.
Yeah, I've been the same, but I think we've addressed the more detailed zoning, but I do have some thoughts, but no questions at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Holland,
No questions.
Commissioner Moore,
No questions at this time.
and Commissioner Selke.
I don't have any questions.
And neither do I. Next will be the public comment session. Before we begin, if any of that, I would want to welcome all members of the public. When you come to speak, we'll need your name, spell your last name, and where you live. Have Ann Brinkman, if you'd like to come up and give us your name, spell your last name and your address. And Betty, I'm sorry,
Betty Jo Page.
thank you. You're on deck.
Hi, my name is Ann Brinkman. Last name is spelled Brinkman, and I am in District 1, 7420 West 34th Avenue. And I will also add, I was a planning commissioner for 10 years. So, been in your chair. So I'm in favor of this. I just want to, I'm speaking on behalf of the ditch. I am not part of Rocky Mountain Ditch. However, I am passionate about ditch rights, and I have come to speak about the ditch that's running through this property multiple times. So I just want to call out something. It is not a recreational area. It is not intended to be used for recreation. It is not owned by the property owners or who will own it. It's owned by Rocky Mountain Ditch and the water rights owners, so that whoever has water rights on there downstream, they own the water through there and they're responsible for it. So early on, it was called out it was going to be a recreational area and they were going to set up playgrounds, etc. And I stood up here and explained that that's not what it's for. And so I'm just being on record here again, since it was 600 acres. If you look through that first, it is, think of it as a public service right away, except it's just agricultural service right away. It has to stay moving. I have a feeling they're going to underground it, which is fine. That'll keep trash from going in there. That's fine. But I just want you as advocates to be aware of the importance of keeping it whole and not messing with it, because people downstream rely on it. And also it is what built Wheat Ridge. I mean, there's ditches throughout our city, and that's what built the Wheat Ridge, the orchards, everything, et cetera. So I just am going on record just to make sure that it's kept intact as the Rocky Mountain Ditch. That's it. Questions?
We'll actually get to the questions after
Oh,
everybody has
okay.
a chance.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, y'all. My name is Betty Jo Page. I live in Wheat Ridge at 3945 Ingalls. Last name is Page. I am on the Board of Adjustment. I just want to say that I have a big concern about the whole idea of recreational opportunities along the ditch. I'm sorry, but children playing are going to go in the ditch if there isn't a huge fence to keep them out, which is going to be pretty darn ugly. So just be realizing the kids in the neighborhood, mom says, go play, and the kid goes to the ditch. It's a possibility, and I'm concerned about it. Just needed to say so. Thank you.
We have anyone on Zoom?
There is one person on Zoom, Alex, if you are wanting to speak. Looks like you might be on your phone. If you can press #6. Actually, give me a second here. Sorry, *6 if you are wanting to speak. Can you hear us, Alex? looks like he's trying to speak. All right. Yeah, I'm not. Alex, oh, yeah, he keeps unmuting, but we can't hear him. Hold on. Okay, Alex, can you try and unmute again with *6?
No, I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will now close the citizens forum. Yes, I will now entertain questions from the commissioners. Starting, I'll go to the left this time. Mr. Silky?
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
I think you
got
need
it.
to reopen the public
Oh.
forum.
Okay, I apologize.
That's okay.
We'll reopen the public forum to answer Mr. Silky's question.
Ann Brinkman, I just meant you cannot break the flow of the ditch. They can cover the ditch, but you can't interrupt the flow of the water in the ditch, which is considerable in Rocky Mountain Ditch. When it's flowing in the spring, it's moving lots of cubic feet of water. So that's what I meant in the fact that they can't divert it to a retention pond, detention pond, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, but I thought you couldn't do that anyways. No?
I've seen it happen. That's why I just wanted to, as stewards, as you guys are stewards, I was just asking to be aware.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
No
Commissioner
question.
Moore, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Holland, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Gravy?
No questions. I appreciate you two providing comment. Thank you.
Commissioner Kern?
Yeah, I do have a question about the ditch. So one of our long-term goals eventually is to get a more formalized pedestrian and bicycle easement along the ditch so it could function similar to a Highline Canal trail system. Now, I'm not sure if people are allowed to currently walk
No.
along the ditch. It's
They're not. It's
illegal.
fenced.
It's fenced, or it's
because
chained off, yeah.
Because it's the ditch company's property.
Yeah,
And they're concerned, obviously, about, because I used to watch, I live on the other side, just off of 34th and Wadsworth, and I used to scoot across the street and then walk across, and then all of a sudden, big fence. So I think they're probably worried about liability
yeah.
and trash and et cetera. But it's their property
Yeah.
as well. So I can't speak to that, and that would be negotiations between the city and the ditch, right? Yeah. And there's different ditch companies for each ditch. So
Yeah.
Rocky Mountain Ditch doesn't speak for the ditches over in District 3 and 4, et cetera,
Sure.
et cetera. Yeah.
I can speak to some of that too.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's currently trails in that general area, although I don't think they're actually within the Rocky Mountain Ditch section. I mean, it's kind of further along. We obviously, with any future development, would refer the application to the ditch company, and ultimately they and the future developer would have to figure out what to do. But yeah, she's right. A lot of the ditch companies will assert a 30-foot or greater easement, and you can't really do anything within there. Or what we've been seeing is they do want the ditch to be piped underground in some sections so people aren't getting in there, diverting it or anything like that. But yeah, they definitely would review any future application.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank
Thank
you
you.
again. Oh,
Thank you. I'll now close the, I'll just make a statement. My folks have had a ditch property, agricultural ditch company. So I'm really familiar with the ditches and all that. And yes, the water flow is very important. My mother is very cranky when the ditch doesn't have enough water to water her lawn. So I appreciate your comments. I will now close the public hearing. There are no further questions from the commissioners. I would entertain the motion.
I have a comment before we rezone this. Do
Can
we have
we
a
do the
time?
motion in a second and then we'll take comments, Mr. Kern?
Oh, good call. Thank you. I move to recommend approval of case number WZ 2502, a request for approval of a city-initiated zone change of the Lutheran Legacy Campus from Planned Hospital Development, PHD, Planned Commercial Development, PCD, Residential 2, R2, and Residential 1, R1 to the Mixed-Use Lutheran Legacy Campus, MU LLC Zone District for the following reasons. 1, the proposed zone change will promote the public health, safety, or welfare of the community and does not result in an adverse effect on the surrounding area. 2, a future developer will be required to upgrade infrastructure and utilities to serve the types of uses allowed by the change of zone. 3, the proposed zone change is consistent with the goals and objectives of the city's adopted plans and policies, including the adopted Lutheran Legacy Campus Master Plan. 4, the zone change will provide additional opportunity for reinvestment in the area. And 5, the criteria used to evaluate a zone change supports the request.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gravy. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I just want to call out a couple of things that I saw in the summary of the neighborhood meeting before we, and you know, I'm for this. I'll be voting to approve. But I just wanted to mention this because this is my last planning commission meeting, and I'm not going to have as much of a public say on this stuff anymore. But to me, there's some very important things regarding this zone change, and that I just want us to keep in mind when we're going to actually develop this site. This site is literally in my backyard. A couple of things that stood out to me in this list of concerns about the rezoning. The things that are most important to me are a desire for lower heights near the ditch. I think that makes sense, and we've talked about that in our study session in terms of the built form and making sure that the heights of buildings sort of slope down to allow more sunlight into the Rocky Mountain ditch and into the trees, those great trees that grow near that ditch. Support for preserving the ditch and the trail alongside it. This is an interesting one. Questions about whether part of the hospital can be reused. I'm a big believer in adaptive reuse of buildings, and that the greenest building is the one already standing. So if we can reuse the hospital building, let's please consider that. Concern about affordable housing. You know, affordable housing has come up time and again. It's almost every meeting we're dealing with some sort of housing issue. And so including affordable housing within this development is very important to me. And I think providing a diversity of housing types and housing price ranges is key. Concerns about allowing street connections to existing neighborhoods. So this zone change in this current roadway plan is sort of, the roadway is already set. It seems like we're going to continue to use the existing roadways. I do want our transportation and planning staff to consider potentially connecting into a sort of grid using existing sort of roads that have cul-de-sacs or dead ends to actually open those up to create a more of a street grid within this hospital development connecting to the neighborhood. By building a street grid, we actually have an opportunity to disperse traffic rather than concentrating traffic. I'm just trying to think, like, if we don't want to have a traffic light on 32nd Ave and Lutheran Parkway someday, the sort of next best thing to having a new traffic light, sort of an alternative, is to just maybe make some further road connections, connect in the neighborhood, build the grid, and disperse the traffic. That would alleviate the need for a traffic light if there's other ways to get in and out of this development. Desire for more housing opportunities, I already said that. Support for bicycle and pedestrian connections, huge. I see my planning staff shaking their head in agreement. But my vision is that there's a trails network within the Lutheran Legacy campus that sort of should flow out to the Crown Hill Park open space network of trails, and it should feel sort of seamless to have that, and to have trails both in both large areas, both the Crown Hill Park and the Lutheran Legacy campus. And then last and not least, let's preserve the existing tree canopy. The trees, some of the trees in this campus are huge cottonwoods, beautiful. There's so many great trees there. They're mature. If we can, let's preserve trees where we can. And then, the trees that aren't great, please, no need to preserve those, but let's keep the good ones. And thank you. That's it for me. Thanks. I'll be voting yes on this.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gravy.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, Chair for the night. First, Will, just thank you for your service on Planning Commission. And I think you've done a fantastic job from what I've seen. It's been a pleasure serving with you for this year. So this is exciting. I know that there is a lot of work ahead of us, and you all more so than me in that, but for the city and whomever ends up working on this, there's a lot ahead, but this does in some ways feel like a bit of a culmination of efforts. 3.5 years. It's been really just very satisfying to see how the city has taken this on with intention, emphasizing public engagement, and it's an interesting time in Wheat Ridge and in Colorado, many other parts of the country, where there is an affordability crisis. A lot of that has to do with housing supply. We frankly just didn't keep up with building units at the rate that people were moving here, and we're feeling the effects of that now. So it's fascinating to be discussing about development on this scale in Wheat Ridge when there was such a long period of time where that wasn't the case. And so I know there's a lot of excitement. And I just would like to congratulate, staff and the city for what they've done to get us to this point. And I look forward to the discussions on the more detailed parts of it. I appreciate Commissioner Kern's comments about the site. I think that the emphasis on integrating transit and multimodal transportation will alleviate some of the challenges that will come as a result of it, namely increased traffic in the area. And I think that is part of a larger consideration that the city, I imagine is being very thoughtful about, in terms of, you've got a city of 30,000 people, and this site with the density that we're speaking of, it's going to be a pretty considerable percentage of the population that we're going to see. And so historically that's going to be, there's going to be changes that come along with that. And there will be more density in some of our amenities in town. whether they be the trails or the rec center, things like that. And I think, you know, that we need to embrace the change that we're seeing at the moment, but we do need to be creative and forward thinking about how to accommodate this level of growth, because again, it's unusual with regard to the city's history. And so that's just kind of, you know, some kind of high level thoughts that I have on it, but I really look forward to seeing how it comes into play. You know, I would encourage a couple of quick things. I would encourage the reuse of the buildings if possible. I know that is largely a finances and economics conversation about, is it cheaper to break them down or reuse them? And, you know, if it is going to be taken down, I, you know, would hope that the developer is one that is, you know, thoughtful about the possibility of diverting some of that waste stream and deconstructing in a way that preserves any value. And, you know, I would encourage I know this is clearly the case with the way that the referendum passed and everything, but the different housing types, I think, inevitably brings diversity to the space and to our city. And I think that's a very exciting prospect. So I look forward to voting yes as well. And it's just, it's an exciting time. And I think that it's really pretty incredible how quickly it's moved to this point in terms of something this scale. So I really, really enjoy seeing it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hub.
Thank you. Just one comment. Just wanted to show my appreciation to the voters for, you know, passing this referendum and their engagement in the process throughout. I think, to echo my colleagues, I am also excited to see if there's opportunity here to add some affordable housing to our city. And I look forward to what comes before us after this passes City Council. Thank you.
Mr. Moore.
You know, honestly, I'll add a second or a third to my commissioners. This is a good thing, and thanks, you know, citizens, city, for making it happen.
Commissioner Selker.
I would just like to echo the comment about support for preserving the ditch and the trail. I would just encourage us to work with the ditch companies on this. And I know that's not an easy thing to do, because I've been there working with the power companies on doing trails for easements for bike paths, and it's not easy, but it can be done. And I think that would be a very good legacy thing to do, to work with the company, try to get the kind of access so they can preserve a trail and make it something that the ditch company can be proud of too.
Thank you. My comments, I will be brief as I can. I really want to thank the staff for all their hard work and the citizenry for their input on this. I think this was a big undertaking to get, you know, thousands or hundreds of people. We all have a different idea and all want our own special thing, and to try to bring that all into one master plan. I have no life, and so I read the master plan again over the weekend and the ordinance, and I think it's very well thought of. It, and there's a lot to it. It took a tremendous amount of work to make that happen, and and you deserve a round of applause. Secondly, I'd like to thank the two ladies that showed up tonight to talk about, number one, safety of the citizenry along that ditch. It's that's a big issue, and I appreciate your concerns. And lastly, I'd like to thank Will for all of his time on here, and I can't believe you're leaving us. What would be more exciting on 2 Thursday nights every month?
Well, you'll still see me at the public meetings, so you haven't seen the last of me.
Okay. Well, we have a proper motion on the floor and a second. Can we have a vote of the commission, please?
Motion approved 6-0.
Thank you all. Next round of the next order of business on here. That was all of our business tonight. We'll move to old business. Jana, do you have a report or anything for us?
Thank you, Vice Chair Quinn. We do not have any old business, but I also want to extend our appreciation and thanks. It's been wonderful having you on the commission. I've been very fortunate to have all of you wonderful folks on the commission. We will miss you, Commissioner Kearns, and I hope you do hang around and we do see you frequently. Good. Good. And let's see here. For dates for the next meeting, we will have a meeting on March 6th. That will be a city plan phase 4 update. So that will be, we're well into the 4th phase, which will be the final phase, with the open house being held tonight. That was kind of the kickoff. And we're also going to probably have a couple of new commissioners. And so want to welcome them. And also we'll need to do the chair and vice chair elections on March 6th. Right now, I think that we're still tentative on March 20th as for any items on that one, but we will keep you posted. Let's see here. As for development updates, the Lakeside Auto Wash is now open. So if you're over near Lakeside area, it is in Wheat Ridge, and feel free to get a car wash. And then I also wanted to just let you know that you may not realize how much has also been going on under the behind the scenes on a new enterprise resource program. I can never get that right. ERP system. And that's basically to help permitting, and it's a type of software. It helps permitting for the whole city, other functions, licensing, all sorts of different functions. And it's meant to work together. We do have a building permitting software now that we've been using for, I think, several years. Forever. And we're moving to OpenGov. It has been launched. It has been live since January. We are still in the process of updating new application types in there, but it's a one-stop shop for folks, whether it be do-it-yourselfer or the big developer consultant team who wants to get in there and make an application. We can now process land use applications through that system, which we have not been able to do before. And I also wanted to give a special thanks to the DOLA Local Planning Capacity Grant for helping us fund the first year of that system, so that when we start processing some affordable housing applications under the Prop 123, we can get those expedited as we need to be doing. So it's been a huge citywide effort to do that. But you'll notice, and if any of the public are listening and are thinking of applying for, a building permit or something like that, the OpenGov system is really easy to use on the front end for consumers, and then it's really easy to tweak on the back end for us. So if we see something that isn't working exactly how we want it to, all we have to do is go in there and make a slight correction, and it's very customizable. So so far I think that we've been really happy with it. And so I hope that everyone out there in the public is happy with it as well. I think they will be. So those are my updates for this evening.
Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question?
Go right ahead.
Follow up on that, Jana?
Yep.
Just in general, then, is this intended to, or is a consequence of this going to be to speed up the timeline for permitting, like to get an application?
Yeah, it'll help with that
process?
too.
Because, sometimes you'll have conversations with folks in the community and they'll mention, challenges. I mean, I think that's kind of in many cities, but is that something we can say, yeah, there's been a recent tech upgrade. We anticipate that process being measurably quicker for.
Yeah, I think over the next year, I mean, we're transitioning from ADG to OpenGov. And so there will be, the transition period. It's going to be a little bit bumpy, but so far it's actually been awfully smooth, surprisingly, knock on some wood. But I do think that overall, just because a lot of our processes, especially for land use applications, the building permits weren't getting hung up in emails and, having to, call someone or walk to somebody's desk or anything like that. A lot of the little administrative tasks that really add up to a lot of time spent. But the land use applications definitely
they have their own process, and it's been very, it's not paper heavy anymore, but it's still communication heavy that's not within one cohesive system. And so having reminders pop up for folks, hey, a review's coming due, or, just being able to track where something is at in the application process is going to be extremely helpful to reduce and promote time efficiencies. Did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'd add, I mean, I think a lot of our time spent is saying what the status of something is. And if someone can go in and log in and see you're in this step and this is the expected due date, that'll cut down on a lot of that excessive communication. Having everything in one place, all the files in one place, is going to be a vast improvement. It's been working well so far on permitting.
Yeah, I think the certainty for the consumer is huge, because they won't have to be calling us, and then we can actually spend more time on the review as opposed to answering the email or the phone call that came in.
Excellent. Any new business to come before the commission? Seeing none?
That was
I
all.
have a
Okay.
few- oh,
Commissioner
sorry.
updates?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Oh, just a couple, I just had the pleasure of attending the city plan open house. And I know we're going to review that on the 6th, but for anybody who might be reading the minutes, since everyone's gone, the survey for people to engage is still open till March 21st, I believe. So definitely recommend people take a look at that and engage in the final phase of it. Similarly, I know that I got the chance to attend the Denver Regional Council of Governments Vision Zero, and it was mostly an update on where they're at in the vision study, but I thought this group might be interested that they're working on a high injury network study, which would be for the whole region. But in my head, it also led me to think about there's a Sheridan safety study happening right now. And if you haven't engaged in that, since I know Sheridan borders our lovely city, definitely recommend everyone weigh in on those areas along Sheridan. I don't know how long that one's open for, but I believe it's still open. And that's all I wanted to share.
Well, thank you. Any other reports from commissioners? Again, thank you, Will. I can't believe you're leaving.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you to the staff. Janice, Scott, Tammy, it's been really fun, and thank you all for your hard work. You guys are the stars of the show, so thank you.
Would
Thank
you do
you.
one final motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Motion approved, 6-0.